Fáilte. And welcome to the third truth video from our 3 truths about the Ogham with an Irish Draoi, myself, Lora O'Brien. And today we are going to be talking about I suppose more about like the system of Ogham. We had introduced that idea yesterday, but I wanted to talk more about the system of Ogham and kind of introduce you to well, yesterday I introduced you to how big it is and how complex it is, but how we can today I want to introduce you to how we can reconnect to it, and we started off this whole thing by talking about authentic connection to Ireland, and the authentic part is really important, as we've talked about in the importance of native source material and in the video on how it's more than Celtic trees, and making sure that you're getting the right information. And today's video is really looking at all of that as a foundation, and building on that then, and how do we rebuild the system? Because even though the Ogham is not lost to us, and a lot of people kind of portray it as this like wishy-washy kind of mystical thing that maybe only they have the true keys to, right? In their system, and that's really not true, because it is about right relationship with the Ogham as much as people walking in right relationship with the culture and with the people and all that kind of stuff. So what we have is looking to form authentic connection with the Ogham itself, okay, with each individual fee, each individual letter, with the Bríthe Ogham, the word Oghams, and the poetic meanings or kennings that are associated with that, and with the spirit of Ogham on a more kind of metaphysical level, I suppose, or an otherworldly level. I believe that there is a spirit of Ogham generally. There is a god of Ogham, Oma, who you can absolutely form connection to in that context. And there's a whole kind of range of things that are otherworldly, that when we have a methodology, when we have a technique for safely journeying to the Irish otherworld, as our ancestors did, I believe, and returning as well. And there's a lot in the Irish tradition about this. People, again, there's kind of a misconception that it's all about the Imram voyages. The Actra voyages are actually more aligned with pre-Christian native tradition and culture, according to the academics who have studied such things. And there are a lot more of them as well, the Actra tales, the adventure tales. And they deal with lessons and wisdom. For the most part, they deal with lessons and wisdom and information and knowledge that we can gain from journeying in the Irish otherworld. And that's huge when you think about it, because if we take that and apply that to our modern gaps, it means that we as practitioners now, if we have that journeying technique down individually, then we can go and we can access information that we don't have access to from the manuscripts and the source material that has survived. We can go and we can meet with our ancestors who have used these, whether that's spiritual ancestors such as Druids, or bloodline ancestors who may have been practitioners themselves way back. We can go and we can have conversations with them. We can access information that way. We can gain access to their wisdom, to their knowledge, to their understanding, to their interpretation of what the Ogham is and what each individual letter might mean, and all those kind of things. We can go then and we can we can simply meditate on the kennings and see what kind of symbolism, or we can create our own lists, as we were talking about yesterday, or we can we can do all this in our personal practice. Again, if we have that basis of safe, secure journeying methodology, something that's reliable, you know, that you can kind of go, get the information you need and come back, and it's consistent and you've practiced it, because that's the biggest thing. There's no point in just doing this like one-off vision quest or life, you know, soul journey that's supposed to like change your entire life. That is the biggest load of crap, because consistently going, forming relationships, showing up, building your knowledge, building your practice, building your skills, showing up every day. That's the only way to actually get proficient in techniques and to build relationship with these entities, with the gods and the ungods, that we can gain wisdom and knowledge from. You got to show up. You got to keep showing up. None of this fly by night, like change your life with one journey kind of bullshit, right? Doesn't work. It's projection. Sometimes people have visions. I will say that. Sometimes, you know, they're hit with a flash. There's something that they really need to see or experience or do. But even in the relatively rare times that that actually happens genuinely, that can only be improved upon by regular journeying practice, by regularly showing up, by going back again and getting more information and getting more wisdom and more knowledge, right? So that's the bit, like actually showing up and doing the work. That's the bit that a lot of pagan practitioners um, skip over or skim over or don't want to deal with. And it's really, really important. And, you know, I mentioned yesterday about the Druids training for 20 years, like to be a filla, to be a poet who was able to use this word magic, to be a Druid, to be able to use battle magic, which was words and poetry, to be able to cast satire, to be able to do any of these things that our Druidical ancestors, our spiritual ancestors, were known for. They had to train for, you know, they had to go to college equivalent, third level education equivalent. They had to show up every day. They had to show up every day for 20 years, according to some texts. And, you know, you would go through different grades and there were different things that you had to learn within each grade. And there's a whole complicated system around it, right? And like we have this information. What's missing is, in a lot of cases, is exactly what they were learning. That's the bit that we need to use the methodology to actually gain access to. And it's really important, like this kind of these lost parts that we have, this lost connection can be found by building that right relationship, by showing up regularly, by working with this consistently, by practicing every day, right? You know, and every other day. I'm not saying you have to like do this every day for the rest of your life, forever from now on, right? But most days, for me, most days over the last 25 years, I have done something, you know, to improve my knowledge, to reconnect, to build relationship, to make sure that I am consistently showing up every single day for myself, for my ancestors, for my gods and my own gods, for the sites that I was guardian of, for my own magical practice, my spiritual practice, all those things. I have shown up most days. You know, everybody has down days, but most days for the last 25 years. And that's what it takes, you know, that's what it takes to learn this stuff. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen easily. And that's the most important truth that I wanted to communicate in this final message. And that's the one that I really want to make sure, like, if you do continue your knowledge, if you do continue your learning journey with the Ogham, that you really understand that, you know, that you understand that it's going to take a journeying practice, because like we can do that as individuals, right? But like what I have put together the Ogham Journeys program, so that we can do that collectively, so that as a group, using the same methodology year on year on year, as I run this program with different students coming in, I want to be able to see patterns that build up over time, over years, over decades, you know, maybe even over centuries after my lifetime, I don't know. But when different people are getting the same message or the same symbolism, independently of each other, then that's a pattern, and that's where we can start to actually test some of this theoretical stuff that we have about around filling in these gaps. Okay, people have to be working in the same manner, they have to be working consistently, they have to be using the same methods. And for this, it's it's like a scientific experiment in a lot of ways. Like, you have to test these theories. You have these hypotheses of maybe these things work. They become a theory, when you gain a little bit of understanding about them and knowledge and context and all the rest of it. And you have to test them. And you have to test them over time, and you have to test them consistently to see, are they repeatable, And that's really what I'm trying to do with all of this. Like, like I said to you at the start, you can take these 3 truths, you can take this email series, this free course, and it will do you a lot of good. If you actually sit with the messages that I've been trying to communicate to you, whatever kind of Irish spirituality, Irish heritage, Irish magical practice that you want to engage with, that whatever brought you here, whatever path you leave here from, these are things that are applicable larger than the Ogham, okay, as well. But if you want to study the Ogham, then this is your foundation. This is a really solid way to actually approach that practice, to look to build relationships, to look to fill in the gaps in your knowledge and your wisdom with authentic information, with authentic connection, with right relationship, corquivness, as I call it, where it's solid for you. It's something that is not just every so often kind of big hoo-ha, flash in the pan, and then you don't do anything more with it ever, right? Or like you come back to it in 5 years time and say, oh yeah, I used to do that, yeah, that was cool, I should probably do that again. And then maybe you do, maybe you don't. And if you decide to work with us at the Irish Pagan School, like if you did want to go that journey with us, whether that's the Introduction to Ogham course, or the longer 6-month intensive Ogham Journeys program, it's really important for me that you're starting from this. We're all starting from the same foundation, and we're all starting on the same page, as it were, and starting on the right foot as we step forward on the path together. It's really, really important to me to ensure a level playing field, to ensure that people know exactly before you pay any money, or if you do pay money, if you never pay money, before any money crosses from you to me, or you to us in the Irish Pagan School, I really want to be sure that you know exactly what you're getting into, like that there's work involved, that this is a path that takes commitment, um, that takes an open-mindedness, that takes a willingness to be challenged and to be questioned, and to have to kind of sit and think and integrate and maybe realign, as your path changes from where it was going. And that's really important to me, that if, when the student is ready, they find their teacher, that, as a teacher, that I'm ready to find my students, that I'm ready to find the right students. So hopefully all that is clear to you, and I would really like to work with whoever is willing to step forward with me on this level, on this path, from the same page, and not just with me, but with the other students in the school. And maybe we can build something together. Maybe we can, over time, not any one of us, not any one individual, but over time, collectively, maybe we can fill in some of those gaps. Maybe we can authentically connect to the Ogham as I believe it was intended to be connected to be used as a tool, to be related to be, how useful it was going to be to society, to our communities, to our culture, to our own internal and individual wisdom, and to our heart connections, and that's really important to me. And I hope that, by making this series of videos, by communicating that to you, that, I feel that I'm doing my part for walking in right relationship, for stepping off in the right way with anybody who wants to work with me any further. But, you know, if that's not you, that's fine. I hope that you got something out of this course, and I hope that you know, wherever your path takes you, that you remember the truths that I've tried to communicate to you. And you know, they do apply to any other culture that you're interacting with, your own included, you know. Um, there's, when we're in our own culture, there's a responsibility to act with honor and honesty, to make sure that we're not messing things up, to make sure that we're not muddying the waters of our own culture as well. So however you're stepping forward into the world, wherever your path takes you, I really wish you well, and I hope that our paths cross again. I would love that. If you've gotten to the end of this series, then you know where we're at and what your options are. And there'll be another email tomorrow with resources. And then, like I said at the start, you'll be on my general mailing list for myself, Lora O'Brien, and the irishpaganschool.com. And you're going to get like loads of general Irish resources and language, and there's every couple of days, sometimes every day if I'm feeling particularly prolific. I have a blog, I have a YouTube video, I have a resource that I've come across that I really want to share with you. So it could be every day, it could be every couple of days, sometimes it goes a week. It doesn't generally go beyond a week where you'll hear from me. So that's kind of what to expect. And you can engage with what you want to, and you don't have to engage with anything you don't want to if it doesn't suit you. So that's kind of where we go from here. So hopefully you'll stay with us on the mailing list at least. And even if you don't, if you want to just hit unsubscribe, if this isn't for you, I'm really glad that we've got that clarity. I'm really glad that we have come to that understanding, you know, and that, you know, like, it's as important to know what's not for you as it is to know what is for you and to find your true path. Okay. But I wish you all the best, and hopefully I will see more of you in the future. So slán go fóill.